Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic K-Man channel. I am Cosmic, and I wanted to break down and talk about Game Informer's interview with Tetsuya Nomura. And this is awesome for Kingdom Hearts fans, for Final Fantasy fans, and for people that are looking at Kingdom Hearts 4 if they might want to get into the series. So let's just hop right in. So Nomura reveals more on Kingdom Hearts 4 and the series' future with Final Fantasy. And we'll read through some of this and break it down and talk about it. So let's just dive right in. Kingdom Hearts recently hit its 20-year milestone, but more importantly, Square Enix has debuted Kingdom Hearts 4. The revealed trailer showcased a more realistic Sora and a much different world, ushering the series into a new era. We couldn't think of a better time to sit down with the director Tetsuya Nomura to discuss the series' evolution. He's also dropped some hints about what to expect for Kingdom Hearts 4. Read on to discover the future of the Final Fantasy characters, his hesitation for Sora's appearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, interesting right there, and why you shouldn't worry about Disney's presence in Kingdom Hearts 4. Wow, that is a lot. So we're going to talk about Final Fantasy characters. This is interesting. His hesitation on Sora's appearance in Smash Bros. Ultimate. I actually thought it'd be Disney that would be the one that's like hesitant to put Sora in, but it was actually Tetsuya Nomura. And why you shouldn't worry about Disney's presence in Kingdom Hearts 4. So we will get Disney in Kingdom Hearts 4, and probably a good bit of it, seems like. So let's continue. The series has celebrated 20 years. Oh, this is the interviewer talking to. The interviewer is asking the question. Said, how does it feel to look back on the last 2 decades, and what do you hope Kingdom Hearts' legacy will be? Nomura says, I feel like 20 years is a very long time, except it also doesn't really feel that way. I have vague memories of visiting the Disney offices in the US and having memories throughout the long history that we've had. But when it comes to the memories of the development and just making an actual game, it's all kind of fuzzy. It doesn't feel like anything has become a memory because the series is still continuing, and it's in real time. The series is always evolving, and the stories are still ongoing. Regarding the legacy, I suppose the heart is the central theme to the Kingdom Hearts story. The story of the Kingdom Hearts. We will continue to depict that and tell the story of the heart in many different ways. That's interesting. It says, regarding the legacy, I suppose the heart is the central theme to the story of Kingdom Hearts. We will continue to depict that and tell the story of the heart in different ways. So I definitely think that when they talk about souls in the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, the soul is very, very important now, just like it was in Versus 13 to Kingdom Hearts. And they're going to explore the soul and the heart and do that in conjunction. So that's pretty cool. So the series is known for cliffhangers and finales. How do you approach this series? So how do you approach keeping these satisfying, but still ensuring fans felt like they had some answers? So this will be interesting. With every title, we just try to create a game that is contained within itself. There's an actual ending and a sense to each game, which is probably something similar to a game that is made. But since the Kingdom Hearts storyline has so many mysteries and the story is ongoing, there are just so many different things that we can get into. Fans say every time they figured it out, there's not a new mystery and they need to figure that out. I suppose it's a combination of just trying to make the game combine within itself and come to a clear stop. But then also it's trying to prepare a new mystery so that fans will be aware of what will be important in the next title, or maybe the next part of the story that's continuing. Personally, I feel like this approach is not really anything special. It's just something that all game developers might be considering when they're making their games. So that's interesting. So he's saying most of all, like when he's putting the story together, he's trying to make the game contain within itself. But once you break it down, once you look at the Kingdom Hearts games like Kingdom Hearts 2 or Birth by Sleep, it has so much lore that it leads you, and it also does prepare you for the next mystery or the next thing that will move the story in the next game. So it's kind of like it's contained within itself, the game is, but it's also getting you ready for what's to come. So that's very interesting how he writes the game. And he also says it's something that all game developers might be considering when they make their games. So it's cool to see like how he's working on one game, but he's thinking about another. And he likes the fact that we're all breaking it down and trying to dissect it. So that's pretty cool. So, what has been your favorite cliffhanger to the fans? What has been your favorite cliffhanger to see the fans' reaction to? The first thing that comes to mind is the ending for the original Kingdom Hearts. I feel like that was maybe really unexpected for players because the people playing the game for the first time probably didn't know the story will continue beyond that. Also, in Kingdom Hearts 3, when Lucio takes off his hood at the very end, I really enjoyed seeing fans' reaction just because it was something that I'd really hoped for. So he definitely loves the fact that he loves the reactions to like stuff that happens. So like Kingdom Hearts 1 or Kingdom Hearts 3 with our reactions to certain story plot events and certain reveals and whatnot. And I definitely think at the end of Kingdom Hearts 4, Tetsuya Nomura is going to keep his eyes out for whatever cliffhanger or whatever thing might happen. So it's actually cool that Tetsuya Nomura goes out of his way to look at reactions and kind of gauge what the players are feeling when he's writing certain plot points that'll be like a oh my gosh moment, you know, so that's pretty cool. And I'm glad that he just makes everything feel very important and he's taking even the fans' reactions seriously, so that's pretty fun. So, moving on, did you expect characters from other games like Birth by Sleep or Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days to become so popular? Do you feel like their stories are complete, or can we expect more of these characters to pop up in Kingdom Hearts 4? So, let's get into it. I really don't think these characters from these two titles would become so important. I had thought that players wanted to see more of characters like Sora and Riku. It was kind of unexpected that these characters from these two titles were so well received. As far as including them or continuing their stories in Kingdom Hearts 4, the story of Kingdom Hearts 4 is focused more on Sora's disappearance. I'm not quite sure if there will be room to really explore other characters' stories as much, but I'm aware and the team is aware that these characters are very popular and people want to see more of them. So, if possible, it will be great to include more of them or continue to share their story in the future. To continue to share more of their story in the future opportunities. Wow. Okay. How do we break this down? So, he didn't expect them to be as important. He expected people like Sora and Riku to be mega popular. Well, I mean, they're mega popular already, but he didn't see these characters being as received, like Roxas, Xion Li, Terra, Aqua, Vin. He didn't see them being as big of a staple to the series as Sora and Riku. And he says right here, as far as including them or continuing their story in Kingdom Hearts 4, the story for Kingdom Hearts 4 is focused on Sora's disappearance. So, what I'm gathering from this is that Sora, Kairi, and Riku are going to be more important than anybody else. But everybody from the last saga, all the other trios will definitely see it in the future for the series. Just not so much in Kingdom Hearts 4. Maybe through a couple of small cutscenes, and that's pretty much about it. So I know that's going to rub people the wrong way, but we'll talk about it in a different video and whatnot. But that's very interesting. But I mean, he says right here, they want to include more of them and put them in different parts of the story moving forward. So that's interesting. Ooh, we can make so many videos off this interview. All right, let's move on. Another area where we saw Kingdom Hearts' popularity surge was seeing Sora in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Can you talk about your feelings on having Sora involved? But obviously, I'm very happy that we were able to make Sora's appearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Most of the feedback when Sora was announced for Super Smash Bros. Was, I can't believe Disney okayed for him to be in this game. Behind the scenes, I was actually the one being very picky about Sora's appearance in Smash Bros. Disney was the one that was like, go ahead, this is a great opportunity. And I thought it would be tough to pull this off because it might clash with established lore in the Kingdom Hearts and Disney worlds. So it was an opportunity I had to consider very carefully. After seeing how everybody was in welcoming Sora into Smash, I feel like the end result was really great. So, I don't even know where to start. So is Sora actually canon? Because it says right here, this was a great opportunity. I thought it could be tough to pull this off because it might clash with the established lore of Kingdom Hearts and the Disney worlds. So Sora is actually canon to Smash Bros. Smash Bros is canon to Kingdom Hearts? Okay, I can't stay on that forever. We'll make another video. So, all right. So that's pretty cool. And he said, right here, Disney said, go ahead. This is a great opportunity. And he was the one that was kind of like iffy about it. And that's pretty cool to see that Disney was like, go ahead. It makes us money. And Tetsuya Nomura was like, hold up. Let me make sure that this makes sense for my series. Let me make sure that this makes sense for Smash Bros. So it's cool that Tetsuya Nomura cares about Kingdom Hearts and its lore and its presence, and also cares about Smash Bros. And try to make everything make sense, especially even lore-wise. Man, that's insane. So let's move on. Let's see. So Xehanort is such a memorable villain, and now we're going into the Lost Master arc. How do you follow up with that, and how do you create fresh conflict with the new adversaries? So, as you mentioned, Xehanort is a really memorable character. We did take a lot of time to flesh out this enemy's presence throughout the series. It all started with the original Kingdom Hearts, where there's Ansem and Kingdom Hearts 2 with Xemnas. Basically, these two figures that stem from one person. In the first game, we explored just the heart portion. In the second game, we explored the physical body. It all led up to the full physical embodiment of the character. I really like that we took the slow burn approach to build the character. I feel like the presence of an enemy character is so important for them to be really good, to be a really good character. It gives the story a lot of depth and density. I feel like we pulled that off. So, moving on. And now we're moving into the next saga. And in the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, we mentioned the Lost Master arc. We're going to be delving into a new enemy figure for the continuation of the story. This new enemy has a lot to do with the unmasked characters that appear at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. They're going to be obstacles that stand in front of Sora. So, also in Kingdom Hearts 2.8, we showed what kind of characters they are, so the enemies have really appeared within the series. We're reintroducing them, and obviously there will be more new characters, but we really can't get into details on those characters just yet. Ooh, that is awesome. So let's break this down. Let's see here. So he talked about Ansem and Xemnas, which ultimately made Xehanort a better villain, and he talked about it gives when it comes to writing such a big story, in-depth story, it's great to do a slow burn approach to build the character up, and it gives the story a lot of depth and diversity, which is very true when it came to Xehanort. He's still important to this day because he's such an interesting antagonist. He's like Sora. I feel like Sora and Xehanort are both the main characters to Kingdom Hearts, and they both have so much depth and density, and like to see Xehanort do different things, to see him fully go into a villainous role, it was definitely a slow burn approach, and it was just cool to see it from different angles, whether it's through Xemnas or Ansem, or even through other characters' eyes like Terra Aquavan or Sora or Riku. So that's pretty cool. So let's move on. Oh yeah, right here, another interesting thing is it says we're moving into the Lost Master arc, and we're going to be delving into new enemy figures for the continuation of the story. So I'm thinking what they mean there is Lushu and the Lost Masters, and then I think maybe Master of Masters, maybe, but I don't think the Lost Masters and I don't think the Master of Masters is completely evil. What I think from what he's saying here is that the Lost Masters are obstacles that stand in front of Sora. I think the Master of Masters will, but if I were to take a lucky guess, whoever the new characters are, which I think are the Darknesses and Lushu, are going to be the future villains of the Kingdom Hearts series. But this little theory. So, do you feel it's important to keep Sora as the main protagonist, or do you ever see the series moving beyond him? Oh wow, that is a big question. Let's get into it. As far as spin-offs go, we've had main characters that were not Sora, but in terms of the mainline series, I think Sora is actually the only real candidate for the main character. I think if Sora is no longer the main character, then I would also feel like that would indicate the end of the number titles. He's that important to the series. Wow. I mean, I'm 100% for Sora always being the main character. Sora, just to get into it, I don't know if you guys have seen my video about it. Sora is my favorite main character in Kingdom Hearts. He is my second favorite fictional character of all time. My 100% my first favorite character in gaming history. So I love Sora, and I'm super happy to see that Sora will always be our main character. And it only makes sense because as much as I like the different trios, as much as I like different characters like Riku or Kairi, I feel like Sora is the only person that has the weight to carry the series moving forward. And we'll break that down in another future video. We can make a lot off of this, and I definitely want to talk about that in a separate one. But Sora's importance to the story is so big that it only makes sense if it's him, only for the number titles, don't get me wrong. I just want Sora to be the main character in the number titles, but for the side games, make Zora have a side game. Riku and Kairi, all that stuff. So I'm very happy that Sora needs to be the main character because it makes sense. And also, if it didn't, it would feel like the end of the series is pretty much coming to an end, you know? So, interesting. So moving on, we saw Donald and Goofy in the Kingdom Hearts 4 reveal, but one question a lot of fans have is how much will Disney still be integrated into the series? So, with regards to Kingdom Hearts 4, players will definitely go to a few Disney worlds in there. I just want to mention they don't need to worry so much about that aspect of the game. It might feel slightly different from previous Kingdom Hearts titles, but once players have a chance to play the game, I'm sure they'll be relieved to find that this is definitely a Kingdom Hearts title. It's the game series that they've come to know and love. So that's pretty cool. So don't worry about Disney. It's still going to show up. There's going to be a fewer Disney worlds, but that's okay. But it's saying like when you play the game, it's going to feel like Kingdom Hearts, like a Kingdom Hearts title, even if it looks different, even if it plays different, even if it's a different experience. Ultimately, when you play the game, it's going to take you back to what you loved about the old games. And that's cool that they're keeping that sacred to the series. As far as the graphical qualities, since with each new title, the aspect has really been increasing and there's so much we can do in terms of graphics, it kind of limits the number of worlds that we can create in that sense. At this time, you're considering how to approach that. But there will be Disney worlds in Kingdom Hearts 4. There will be Disney worlds in Kingdom Hearts 4. As to how Sora gets there, we don't know, but they're going to be worlds. So everybody, relax. It's not a Versus 13 game. Me personally, I wish it didn't have Disney. I wish it was all just Versus 13 stuff. Of course, I wish it had Disney, like characters and whatnot, but I wish that Kingdom Hearts 4 only focused on Quadratum. But if it goes to it's going to different Disney worlds, so I can't get mad. It's different experiences, different gameplay, different story, you know, so I'll find myself enjoying that too, you know, even if it's just a few. So I think everybody can take away something from that and be happy. So, when did you start working on the ideas and planning for Kingdom Hearts 4? And what things did you want to incorporate early on? So, whenever I'm working on a title, I'm already thinking about what I want to incorporate in the next one. Interesting. For example, with Kingdom Hearts 4, I had already started thinking about what I want to do with it while making Kingdom Hearts 3. This is more in terms of characters, worlds, gameplay systems I want to implement. Every time it's the same process. I'm consistently thinking of ways to improve or change. I'm looking for things to improve or change the next title. For example, in Kingdom Hearts 2, we've introduced reaction commands system. I'll talk about this too. I feel like fans didn't take it too well, and it wasn't as popular. So in Kingdom Hearts 3, we took that system out. But then fans said, why did you take it out? So now we're considering bringing it back into Kingdom Hearts 4. This challenge is with the action gameplay. It's hard to execute the satisfying action moves when the footing isn't very secure. That's something that we're working on and hoping that we can realize as an aspect of Kingdom Hearts gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 4. That's something we can realize as an aspect of gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 4. Sorry guys, I'm dyslexic, so I'm doing my best. But let's break this down. So that is very true. If you guys didn't know, when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, people actually didn't like the reaction commands. It wasn't well received and people were complaining about it. As you can see, Tetsuya Nomura saw that and he saw the feedback. So he took it out of 3 and then it got brought back in Remind to some degree, and now we'll see it moving on because fans ended up loving it. So he's like, oh, okay, now I gotta put it back in 3 for the Remind DLC, and I gotta put it back in the Kingdom Hearts 4 because as time went on, people came to love the fact that reaction commands were a thing. But when the game first came out, Kingdom Hearts 2 wasn't well received in terms of that gameplay aspect. So interesting. Another thing he said is when he was working on Kingdom Hearts 3, he pretty much already had ideas for Kingdom Hearts 4, and he started kind of planning it out very small, you know. He said this is more in terms of the characters, worlds, and gameplay systems. So that's cool that Kingdom Hearts 4 was already a thought at some point for the development during Kingdom Hearts 3. So I think Kingdom Hearts 4 is definitely going to come up, you know, relatively soon. He's been working on it for a while. I think they're just putting the building blocks at this point. So moving on, will we be spending a lot of time in Quadratum? Does having more realistic settings give you bigger opportunities? And he said, I think it will be a pretty good amount of time spent in, I think it'll be a pretty good time spent in its initial base within the game. You spend time there and then you go to different worlds and then come back there. Because the graphics are more realistic this time around, I feel like there's more realistic daily life aspects of Sora. You can see him go in and out of his room and spend time there. I feel like players will get to see more of the day-to-day routines that he goes through. That's interesting. So we're going to see Sora do his day-to-day. We're going to see him pretty much living the real life for, however long he's in Quadratum. And as we go to different worlds, we'll be coming back to Quadratum. But it's saying that overall we're going to be spending a pretty good amount of time in Quadratum in the initial base within the game. So very interesting. As far as worlds go, in the past, we featured a lot of Disney worlds, and among those more realistic ones was probably the most realistic one would probably be Pirates of the Caribbean. This time around, we're spending more time in the actual real world. This is a challenge we've had for ourselves, just to see how realistic we can make this. And that's something that we're looking into right now. For now, we can't really dive into any further details than that. Wow. They definitely want to spend a lot of time in Quadratum, That's going to be pretty cool. I don't have any complaints. I'm pretty excited that we're going to go back there too after we go back to different Disney worlds. They'll be popping back and forth. Alright, let's move on. Fans were very concerned about the lack of Final Fantasy characters and newer entries. Do you still want to dial down the amount of them in the series, or is Kingdom Hearts 4 a chance to bring in more cameos? So, I understand that there weren't many Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts 3. One thing I want to clear up to a lot of fans that are saying that Kingdom Hearts is a collaboration between Disney characters and Final Fantasy characters, but I really feel like there's not a basic concept of Kingdom Hearts. That's not exactly what Kingdom Hearts is. That's not the basic Kingdom Hearts. That's not the basic concept of Kingdom Hearts. That's not exactly what Kingdom Hearts is. When we released the first title, we only had a few original Kingdom Hearts characters. When they were interacting with very well-known, beloved Disney characters, I felt nobody really knew these new characters, so it was harder for them to stand their own ground just yet. And so we had a lot more Final Fantasy characters evolve to lend a hand for everyone to get to know the original Kingdom Hearts characters better. Now that there are so many characters from Kingdom Hearts that are so well loved, and people want to see more of these characters. With Kingdom Hearts 3, since we did have so many original Kingdom Hearts characters, it was hard to find room for including more Final Fantasy characters. We were trying to find a good balance for that. I know that for some fans that they were concerned about that and weren't too happy, and they wanted more Final Fantasy characters. That's something we definitely are thinking about. But just with the sheer number of original characters that we have now, it's hard to say what exact balance is going to be, and how it will play out in Kingdom Hearts 4. We really can't give you a firm reply on this. So let's break it down. So he's saying for Kingdom Hearts 1, we had Sora, Riku, Kairi, and a couple other few original characters. And the Final Fantasy characters at the time were meant to lend a hand into making Sora, Riku, and all these characters, especially the Disney characters too, Disney was involved, into building up the original characters. And now since there's so many original Kingdom Hearts characters now that have stories that are fleshed out, it's kind of hard to use the Final Fantasy characters to help out with the characters' developments now, since they're growing and they're having their own story arcs and whatnot. I could definitely see how that's an issue and how it's hard to incorporate more Final Fantasy characters into the overall game and whatnot. So I definitely get how that's definitely an issue, but it's cool that they're trying to look at how they can bring back Final Fantasy characters and make them feel like they're giving depth and a lot of lore to the story, just like how they did in Kingdom Hearts 1. So I'm not too worried about it. I think we'll see Final Fantasy characters. Alright, I think this is the last question. Do you want to give one final tease for the fans about what they can look forward to. Tetsuya Nomura said, with regard to Kingdom Hearts 4, unfortunately, there's not any new information that I'm able to share with you for a while, which he always does say, but then he ends up breaking it. But if people could really dive into this interview that we had today, I did reveal a little bit of new information and more details during this conversation. So it'd be good if people could consider that and find the new information that way. Also, I want to mention that Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. We are working towards launching the closed beta within the year. I know that not everybody's really into smartphone games, and some fans might not be really excited for it, but we're making it so that, it's something big that anyone can jump right into. Compared to our last mobile release, I keep burping. It's a lot closer to the series and also connected in many ways to Kingdom Hearts 4. The easiest way to get new information and hints about Kingdom Hearts 4 would be first to play Missing Link. There will also be some more mysteries, not related to Kingdom Hearts 4 specifically, but just throughout the series in it. Also, some figures that appear in the Missing Link are tied to Kingdom Hearts 4. That's all I can really say for now. Wow. What a great interview. That was crazy. There's a lot to break down. I'm going to keep this video as short as I possibly can because we're 26 minutes in. But overall, I'll make videos breaking down each and every section of this just to simplify it. I'm very excited for Kingdom Hearts 4 and Missing Link. It definitely looks like Kingdom Hearts is taking a new direction. But ultimately, for reading this interview, it feels like Kingdom Hearts is still Kingdom Hearts. And I think that's what makes me extremely happy. And it hasn't lost its identity. Tetsuya Nomura deeply cares about what he's writing and what he's doing for the series, even if some people didn't like 3 or like certain aspects of certain games. Like, it seems like Kingdom Hearts is always going to be Kingdom Hearts. It just might be like this, something new, something we haven't seen before. But ultimately, Kingdom Hearts is deep within our hearts, and they're always going to keep Disney and Final Fantasy to some degree while building up their main characters, so we shouldn't worry. So, let me know what you guys think about this Kingdom Hearts Game Informer interview with Tetsuya Nomura. Did you guys like it? Did you guys not? And also tell me what you guys wrote down that you guys thought was very interesting in this whole entire article, because there is a lot. So, I'll definitely tell you my favorite so far was probably the fact that Tetsuya Nomura was hesitant to put Sora in Super Smash Bros. And the length of Kingdom Hearts 4 in terms of Quadratum visitation. So those were my equal in terms of my favorite thing that they showed. Other than that, if you guys can like, comment, subscribe, share my video, it helps me out as a creator and it makes me want to keep doing this more. And that's with the YouTube algorithm. So thank you guys for all the support, all the likes, all the love. And with that said, you guys stay safe, drink your alkaline water, stay healthy, and I will see you guys in the next Kingdom Hearts video because I'm going to be busy. So see you guys soon.